Greetings and welcome to the ROI Clear podcast. My name is Ray Hightower, and today we are fortunate to have as our guest Ms. Ariel Herrera. Ariel Herrera is a data scientist and a real estate operator investor. She is co-founder of Coffee Clozers. We are going to explore data science, technology, and real estate together today. So please join me in welcoming Ms. Ariel Herrera. Welcome, Ariel.
Thank you so much, Ray. Really happy to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here. And I've watched you for a while. You're on Facebook, you're on YouTube, you've got Coffee Closures. You have a lot going on in the areas of technology and real estate. Those are two areas that are dear to me with my background. So I've just loved watching you expand what you're doing. And so it's such a treat and such a pleasure to have you here today. And so let's get right to it. Let me just ask you a whole bunch of questions about you. To kick things off, let's start off with the elevator pitch. And for those who are new to ROI Clear, Ariel is on an elevator with someone she wants to influence. So Ariel, we're going to ask you, what would you say to that person in the course of an elevator ride?
I help real estate investors find cash flowing deals using AI, data, and automation. So essentially, like if Zillow was actually built for real estate investors. And I find there's two main pain points for W-2 workers looking to get into real estate. One is that it's not a linear path, meaning that there's many different ways you can invest in real estate. So it could be confusing. And second, it could be hyper manual using touch points like spreadsheets. And I know this because I was that W-2 worker. So now what I do is I help real estate investors make data-driven decisions.
Wonderful. Very succinct. And that's a short elevator ride and straight to the point. At this point, we're exchanging business cards, and certainly a business relationship would begin at that point.
Yes, of course.
Yes. So what was the spark for you? I know your background is in technology. When did you start looking at real estate, or were you exploring real estate first and then you started studying technology? What was the pathway for you?
Sure. So taking a little bit of a step back, I'm a Jersey girl, grew up there about 25 minutes from the shore, went to University of Rutgers, so went there for my business management degree. And I never thought I was going to get into programming or anything succinct to that. But it was in my first role, I was taking a break from lunch, and there was another coworker who she was teaching how to code VBA, which basically like it's a programming language in Excel, helps you to automatically do things like pivot tables, reports, etc. So I took that course really just to get out of working for an hour. But then I was mind blown. I was like, wait, this process that takes me 2 hours can only be done in maybe 3 seconds by using code and programming.
Wow.
So from there is when I transitioned my career to really be more tech focused, starting off as a tech business analyst, progressing to data science, and then ultimately being a data science manager. Through that process, about 5 years in, is when I caught the bug for real estate. And it was a little bit of frustration of not having time for myself, which I think a lot of people have. As W-2 workers, like you're climbing your career, you may be really enjoying the work, but you don't have that much time for family and friends. So that's when I started the initial path into financial freedom and passive income.
Wonderful. So you did the traditional route of go to college, get good grades, get a good job. You were in business. Then you found out that one of your friends, one of your colleagues at work was offering a course, a lunchtime course on VBA, Visual Basic for Applications. I think that's what VBA stands for, right? Visual Basic for
I believe
Applications,
so.
something like that. Yeah. The language that all of us deal with when we're writing macros or writing programs within Excel. And you got into that, and you observed in that 1 hour session, you observed that a task that would have taken you several hours could be done in seconds if you had the skill to program it in VBA.
Exactly. I was completely mind blown by that just condensed amount of time to be able to do something using a few lines of code.
Excellent. And so from there, you became a data science manager. You probably immersed yourself in Python. I know this because you've done some Python videos, and so certainly you've done that. What other languages have you explored on your data science career?
I've dived into Scala
Hmm.
with Spark, so working with large data sets. So a lot of
Yes.
my career was working in fraud detection. And with trading, there's so many trades happening, even with seconds. So the data sets are very, very large. That was a
Mhm.
really exciting problem to work through. But yeah, I would say my main one is Python and secondary is Scala.
Python and then Scala. Scala runs on the JVM, the Java Virtual Machine, right?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So fraud detection, I didn't know you had that in your background. So you were chasing bad guys. You were chasing
Yes.
digital bad guys. Are
Chasing
there
the
any
dollar.
are there any stories you can tell us about that? I'd imagine some of that is confidential, but is there any story that you can tell us about your sleuthing or your detective work, or is that all classified now?
No, it's public. If you were online of maybe like activity that occurred for, I know Deutsche Bank was one of them, a couple others around like the 2019 period,
Mm-hmm.
where FINRA was involved. I was a part of like those teams to see
Yes.
what was happening. But it was really interesting problem to solve because I didn't really have that much experience in trading initially. So when I was developing these models, I was slow. I was slow. I would make mistakes. I would be working with business analysts more frequently. But
Mm-hmm.
as I ramped up on my domain knowledge, I was able to lead a lot of these projects. And I think that also has a lot of parallels to real estate. I see a lot of people like offload a lot of work when it comes to that technical aspect. But if
Mm-hmm.
that individual doesn't have the domain knowledge, a lot of these products or models end up taking a long time or can possibly fail.
Yeah. Oh, you just hit on something. You hit the nail on the head. Domain knowledge. You
Yes,
got to know what the technology is being used to do. You got to know what problem it is you're solving.
exactly. Without domain knowledge, you're just going to be going in circles and taking a longer time trying to solve a problem.
That is a challenge, but certainly you rose to it. You spent 5 years in that space. So tell us, can you give any advice to someone who also wants to travel that path? Maybe they have gotten well, let's see. Thinking about your path, business and then technology, you ramped up some tech skills, and then you moved into a new domain. What advice would you give to someone that has technology skills and wants to ramp up in a new domain? How did you do it? And would you go along that same path in the future, or would you change some things about the path that you traveled?
Sure. So there are two main ways, and I initially only went the first way, and I'll say why that is not always correct.
Hmm.
So case studies. What's
Yes.
amazing, there's a ton of universities, students going for their master's, doctorates degrees, and they do these case studies against whatever domain you're in, whether it's airlines, it's trading, it's real estate. So reading these case studies is very important because they go very deep into the level of how to apply AI, data science, or even different methodologies to improve a certain process. Because they usually have that research spend and they have that community. But case studies get you so far. What really helps is having experts in your own circle. So what
Hmm.
really helped me was raising my hand and saying, hey, I need to learn more about equities or this specific space in trading or in real estate. Can you be a mentor? Can you help me? Can I spend a half hour sitting with you to learn more? So there was one particular person, his name was Richard that I worked with.
Hmm.
Amazing. He actually did the reverse. So I was coming in more with tech and he was coming in more of domain and he was trying to learn Python Scala. So
Hmm.
every week we would have a session where I would start off half an hour giving him programming tips and reviewing his code. And then he would spend a half hour teaching me the domain knowledge. So really pairing with someone can help speed your knowledge really, really fast.
You paired together. You did pair programming, and actually, you took it to step further. It wasn't just pair programming; it was pair mentoring.
Yes, both ends.
Yeah, both ends. So you were sharing him some of the technology knowledge about Python and Scala and the JVM, and he was sharing with you domain-specific knowledge, and you both got better as a result.
Exactly. I think it's fed my knowledge by 4 times doing it that way.
Wow. So shout out to Richard. It was so wonderful that you were able to get together. 1 plus 1 does not equal 2. 1 plus 1 can equal 4, 8, 16, or 128 under the way that you practice it. Yeah. 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 You
Exactly.
laugh because you like the binary progression there, right? All
Love it.
the all powers of 2. So that's wonderful how that goes. So your advice to someone who perhaps has technology knowledge and wants to ramp up in the domain, or has domain knowledge and wants to ramp up on the technology, is to, one, absorb some of the papers that are out there. As you said, there's some academic papers out there put together by people who are completing their master's or PhD in whatever area. It could be a master's or PhD in a financial domain, or master's or PhD in computer science. And I would imagine that doing that gives them vocabulary and knowledge of what questions to ask.
100%. Yep.
Yeah, that gives them, yeah. And then when you get together with your mentor, then you can talk shorthand. Then you have a common vocabulary, and together you can come up with answers.
Exactly. And one other quick tidbit for those case studies, when you're learning this vocabulary, some of these case studies may go over your head the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
as you continue to read and digest different ones, then it all starts to kind of come together, especially with that mentor. But using softwares now like ChatGPT, Otter AI, all these softwares can help you like distill down these case studies so that you could even ramp up on your vocabulary faster.
Wonderful. So ChatGPT is a mentor too.
It is now, yes.
Mentorship in ChatGPT. You know what's so wonderful? AI tools like ChatGPT, I kind of think of it as the early days of spreadsheet. You know, the first really mass market spreadsheet was something called VisiCalc, and nobody really knew what it was going to be used for. They knew it would make they knew that it would make spreadsheets, or paper spreadsheets, faster to calculate. You could go through those faster, but no one realized that people would turn around and use a spreadsheet as a database, or use it for all the
Yeah.
random stuff we use Excel for today, right? And so I would imagine that right now we're in the early days of Chat GPT right now. Like, we're still figuring out what it can be used for.
Agreed. There's so many different applications of use, from just simple tasks, like help summarizing an article, to more complex tasks as well.
Yes. And I bet people like you are going to invent new uses for Chat GPT and related tools.
That's the plan. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Now we mentioned Chat GPT. What are some competing tools out there, maybe competing or complementary AI tools out there that you like to explore or experiment with?
There are several, and you could go towards a paid route as well. But for free, Gemini, Google Gemini
Hmm.
is great.
Yes.
Google, of course, has a tremendous database, tremendous skill set. So they're, I think, one of the best free ones to use.
Hmm.
And when it comes to like real estate workflows and stuff, especially those who are creating content, Otter.ai is great
Hmm.
for describing podcasts, things like that. As well, love to use Veed.io,
I don't
which is
know what that is.
it's
V.io?
yeah, it's not
Okay.
actually a chat bot, but in the whole realm of like AI and helping you like speed up your process for recording videos. It basically eliminates a lot of the manual effort. So auto correcting your eyes, being able to cut all the frames, and they're doing this with like a lot of other stuff. Opus Clip 2 being one of these.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think it's not just like the chatbot type of aspect, right? Which a lot of people frame it that way, but there's all these other suite of AI tools that can help streamline your process and help you get back to the main stuff, right? Like if I'm spending an hour or two editing a podcast, when instead of actually being on a podcast and talking to you, having you on mine, the effort is better spent in one direction than another. So really think about that when deciding what to plug in.
Right, right. It's all about accelerating your progress without putting in a whole lot of effort in a low return area. You
That's
want to
it.
put your effort into high return areas.
Correct.
What would be an example of a better use of time for you? You said one example would be coming on the ROI Clear podcast. Thank you. I know I expanded that a little bit. You said going on podcasts. I made it specific to the ROI Clear podcast, and that's just what we do. We want to promote ourselves. But in all seriousness, what are some other areas that you have found to be a better use of your time rather than going through manual tasks?
So I think, at least for myself, better use of my time is being able to research. So looking into data, developing dashboards, finding insights. But I
Mm-hmm.
think across the board, whatever industry you're in or role you may play in real estate, all of us at this stage, our minds are switching between tasks so often. We're going from
Mm.
task, 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 task. So those meaningful things, like maybe strengthening a customer sales relationship, or for myself, doing that data analytics,
Mm-hmm.
my time to focus on that goes from like used to be like 4 hours sitting down to now maybe only half an hour of time before I'm mind switching to something else. So by having these AI softwares or things that can help me with my workflows, I can not only have more time to focus on certain tasks, but also more time sitting down in one session.
We need to make sure that we include in our show notes some of your recommended tools. Because
Yes.
just in the short time and the brief time we've been speaking with each other, it's clear that you've drilled down some rabbit holes. I'd imagine that some of the tools you've explored haven't worked out as well, but some have turned out to be home runs, right? Some have been very fruitful. So yeah, we want to make sure we include some of your recommendations. If that's all right with you, we'd like to
Yeah, I can
post.
have a list of like best tools, and I also already have a list for best like data links to go to for certain things. So I could share both.
Wonderful, wonderful. We look forward to that. Now, let's talk about coffee closers. Tell
Yes.
us about coffee closers, and I'll start off with this question. Who is your ideal customer or client for coffee closers, and what problems are you helping them to solve?
Great. So taking a little bit of a step back, who is the ideal customer? It's actually someone who was myself. So I was
Mm,
walking in shoes, commuting into New York 2 hours each way, having limited time and wanting time back with my family.
mm,
I would, get up at 4:45, bus at 5:15, gym, work in the city, come back home around 7, limited time to eat, sleep, and, do all the things that I wanted to do, which this is a parallel to how a lot of people live their lives today. Just not that much time to really spend on things that matter, which is family.
mm-hmm.
So what I started to do was look for investments for myself. As I went to the real estate rabbit hole, I was like, okay, this could be a great way for passive income. But I
Yes.
was shocked to see that there were limited tools to help with streamlining the process. I didn't
Mm,
have time at night to plug in properties into a spreadsheet and spend all this manual time doing so just to see the deal doesn't work. So I decided to create software to help myself in my process of analyzing deals, finding cash flowing properties, and ultimately closing on them. So Coffee Closers was basically born from this whole idea that W-2 workers don't have the right softwares that are developed for them. There's a ton of them
mm.
for full-time real estate investors, a ton of softwares that are you have to learn them very specifically, but nothing that's just ready to go and helps you on your journey for financial freedom. So our target user is someone who's, software engineer, military, dentist, limited time, looking to find cash flowing deals and loving the feel of like a Zillow, but they want to see it as if it was made for them as the investor.
Wow. So in a nutshell, you're marketing coffee closers to your previous self. You had a W-2 position in New York. You were traveling, commuting from Jersey to New York every day, 2 hour. Was it 2 hours each way? Your commute was 2 hours
Yeah.
each way? Crazy. There's someone, whenever someone in that part of the world tells me about their 2 hour commute, I always have to ask them again because that's an amazing level of commute. Wow, so many people and on the commuter trains and all of that stuff. So you're going back and forth, limited time with family. Of course, you're not going to be happy with that. There's probably some species of human who is happy with that, but that ain't
Not
you.
myself.
That ain't you. All right. So going through that, you were frustrated with that, but at the same time, you had developed these skills, you had developed domain expertise, and you had developed software development expertise. You knew you wanted to invest in something in real estate, but you did not have time to plug the numbers into the spreadsheet to do the analysis you needed to do. So you used your software development skills and you combined that with your domain knowledge to create a product, Coffee Closers, for people like you, W-2 people who wanted to get out of the W-2, achieve passive income so you could spend more time with your family. Is that a fair summary?
That is a perfect summary. And just to add one more point,
Yes.
if you did mention, yes, the passive income. So we're not looking to get rich quick. So I
Mhm.
loved my career, loved the colleagues that I was with, and I wanted to build income over time. But I kept seeing the options ahead of me were just like, here's how to make, $10,000 within 3 months.
Mm.
That's not what I was looking for. So yes, you summarized it perfectly, and it's to build wealth for the long term, not just for the short term.
Got it. That's a very important distinction. I'm glad you brought that up. It's not get rich quick. It is build wealth over time if you are willing to be disciplined and focused.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there is a price. So it's not get rich quick at all. That is remarkable. So you combined your background, you combined your skills, and you built this. So how long has Coffee Closers been on the market and available for people? And you tell us a little bit about it. Let's chat about Coffee Closers because I'm excited that you created a tool out of your frustrations. And because you were frustrated and you built this tool, there are other people who will be pulled out of their frustrations as well. That's just awesome to me. So tell us a little bit more about that. Let's just chat about Coffee Closers a bit, if that's all right with you.
Sure. So I actually first started building these little tools to help, but the
Hmm.
same theme was Ariel, I love these little tools that are helping me, one for finding cash flow, one for finding a market, but is there an all-in-one? So it
Mm,
wasn't until I met my co-founder, it's a team of four, Liam. So he is also a software engineer. He's a web developer. And
hmm.
he first came over to me and was like, oh, I, built a little tool to help find cash flowing deals, upload data from Zillow and then it spits out cash flow numbers. What do you
Yes.
think? And then I said, well, that's not going to work because the worst deals are going to rise to the top, the ones that are fixer-uppers. Most people who are W-2 workers, we want something that's either as close to turnkey as possible for our first 1 to 3 deals.
Yes.
So then he's like, oh, well, would you mind, providing more feedback if I fix this up a little bit? Little did I know he was pitching me without me knowing. So we
Yeah.
officially combined on the effort of Coffee Closers last year around May,
Hmm.
and we fully were like developing this product in the summer of last year.
Yes.
So we're all in California, and programming hard, having whiteboards everywhere. Then in September we had our real launch, and it was met with positivity. However, what really changed the game for us was this past early spring. So the investors that we've worked with, I say that Coffee Closers is pretty much built by ourselves, but also 50% with the community. People who are willing
Mm-hmm.
to give their time and say, you know what, I would do this a different way. This is what I need to see, etc. So number two things that people said they needed was maps, intelligent maps to know a real-time view of how a market is performing. Because
Yes.
real estate is so hyper local to say, oh yeah, go invest in Florida. What?
Yeah, yeah,
Florida?
yeah, yeah. Where
Yeah,
in Florida? Can you be more
exactly.
specific? Yes.
So we built neighborhood maps that take
Hmm.
economic and market data to give a real-time view of, and I could go into that later, of what a city looks like in those specific neighborhoods. So maybe 10 blocks or so. Then on the
Hmm.
second end, we kept getting the question was, how do I know if this property is best for my strategy? Turnkey, house hack, fix and flip, BRRRR. There's so many different strategies. But if we just show, cash flowing, like what does that mean for each one? So
Hmm.
today, if you go to Coffee Closers, vanilla, we call it, you can go into a city, find the best neighborhoods to invest in based on your strategy, and be able to find the best properties based on your strategy, automatically ranked, and have those, top 5 available to you. So I'll pause there if you have any questions, and then I
You
can.
know, my goodness, you're blowing my mind because it is exactly what you said. It is Zillow but customized for you. It is as if everybody else is buying a suit off the rack at Zillow and you have a tailor-made product, but you're able to tailor make it. It sounds like you're able to tailor make it for your users without you spending a lot of time doing it. You spend a lot of time building the tailoring tools, but while they're going through the tailoring process, it's not sucking up a lot of your time. Your time was put in at the front end, developing the tools. Like it's almost like you're building a tailoring robot for software. I got to work on that metaphor or whatever, but That's exciting to me. So what asset classes are you focusing on? Are you doing single family, multifamily, retail, office, industrial? What asset classes can coffee closures be used for?
We do single family and small multifamily up to
Yes.
4 units.
Yes.
Right now, our main focus is on market. We
Mm-hmm.
were doing off market entirely on our platform as well.
Yes.
However, we realized we were spreading ourselves too thin. And this goes for anyone who builds any real estate software or just software in general. You always want to start with like one single focus,
Mm-hmm.
solve one specific problem need before you go into expansion. So we realized for our W-2 workers, they're not looking to start cold calling, people that might want to sell their home. That's not their intent. They need to
Right.
get a property under contract fast, someone who's already said, hey, I want to sell my property.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we had to refocus on that area. But yes, it's single family, residential, main focus on market. However, you can search any property off market. It just won't have every single one of the bells and whistles that we have in our main product.
I love that your niche is very tightly defined. There's something Charlie Munger used to say that if you're going to be a specialist, if you're going to have a niche, make sure it's small and tightly defined and not big and fuzzy. And that is it's a very tightly defined and focused niche that you've uh that you've chosen here. That's wonderful.
Exactly. And we've actually even gotten a little bit of a more subset of a niche, which I can go into if you'd like.
Yes, we can certainly do that. There's so much I want to ask you about, Ariel. I know we have to have you back. We're actually coming towards the end of our time together. I want to drill down into it. Why don't you give us a teaser and we'll use that to promote your next visit to the ROI Clear podcast.
Perfect. So what we've been working on over the summer has been transformative to our product, and it's called Coffee Closers Creative. So the problem that investors have is that even if we can rank the best properties and take you down from 10,000 to one for your strategy,
Mm-hmm.
some markets, there's still no cash flow. For example, Boise, Idaho is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Practically no cash flowing deals. However, when you introduce other strategies like seller financing and subject to, the deals really open up. And this is a space that's been, in discussion, has had a lot of talk about it over the last several years, but there's never been a SaaS product that is really tailored for it. And that's what we've developed this summer at Coffee Closers.
Wonderful. So you're taking what you've done with coffee closers, that's a flame. You're going to throw some gasoline on that flame in the form of seller financing and subject to. That's a brilliant teaser. That is
It,
exciting. What is your projected release date for a coffee closers creative?
it is actually available right now. We released it in July of 2024 in the summer. And one of the best parts is that it does have founders attached to it. So we are doing coaching alongside. And I can't say this forever, as we continue to grow, it may be a different team that's doing the coaching. But if you wanted to have coaching specifically with myself and my other co-founders who have experience in investing in this specific space, now's the time.
Coffee closers creative with coaching.
Yes.
All right. Something's magic. Something magic is about with the letter C there. So the alliterative C. Wonderful, wonderful. We are coming toward the end of our time together. I could ask you a whole lot of questions, Ariel. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for what you're doing, the way you're blending real estate and technology and software development and solving problems, all of those together, mixing all of those together. That's wonderful. As we come to our close, clearly you're someone who reads a lot and learns a lot. You're always sharpening your mental saw, sharpening that saw in here. What are some things that you're reading that you would like to recommend to our listeners and viewers?
I think staying in touch with what's happening regulatory wise is really important. Because of the NAR settlement, we're seeing a lot of shifts happening in real estate. There's a
Mm,
lot more AI agent driven businesses coming out as well. So just be on top of like what is, coming post NAR settlements. For example, there's a company called Realm.ai, and
mm-hmm.
they are helping owners sell their properties on their own. You take out their app with your phone, you scan rooms, and they'll tell you specifically based on your property in the area what is giving your home more value. So now you can have that confidence to sell your property, which of course agents are important, but when it comes to say properties that there's 100 of the same ones,
Mm-hmm.
more of like that middle or so price properties, sometimes you could do it on your own and save a lot of money, which with people, houses being their main asset of income, that is really important. So definitely look at news of what's occurring with these new settlements and these new regulatory laws and how AI is playing a part.
Excellent. And we want to make sure we include that. You said realm.ai.
Yes.
Okay, we want to make sure we include show notes. Finally, how can we get in touch with you and your team?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Ariel Herrera, and you could also reach out to me directly via email, ariel.herrera@coffeeclozers.com. Would love to be able to sync, give any advice I can. Love talking about technology and real estate, so always open to have a conversation.
Wonderful. Ariel Herrera, it has been a pleasure having you on the ROI Clear podcast. This is exciting. We absolutely do want to have you back. And thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Ray. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
And thank you for engaging the ROI Clear podcast. At ROI Clear, we buy multifamily apartment properties, we improve them, and we give people a great place to live. At the same time, we give investors an opportunity to enjoy capital preservation, tax advantages, and a solid return on investment. If you'd like to know more, click the link to roiclear.com down below. We look forward to speaking with you.